Hey, welcome. My name's Steve Jagger.
And I'm Mike Foster, and today Tool Time has Bomber S-Bomb. Steve's going to be up giving you a demo. We're talking abusing repo webhooks and some crazy break-ins, hacks. Welcome to the show.
Yo, all right. Welcome once again to your Cloud Native Video newsletter for an impatient world. We had a pretty good show today. Apologies, it's a day early because I'm going on holiday tomorrow.
Yes, the unique Thursday show. It's actually kind of nice. We'll let you have Friday to yourself. But yeah, there's been a ton in the short 6 days since last Friday when we talked last.
And I think this show mostly put together by you, actually. I would say.
Yeah, so if it sucks, it's on my shoulders. But no, it's pretty cool. We got some Oracle bugs, some new scams, a big Kubernetes conversation about utilization. So should be good.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So that means I will be on holiday, so there will be no show next week. Just letting you know, you're all off the hook we're off the hook a little bit, I suppose, as well. Shall we onward and upward?
Yeah, let's get into the general news.
Okay, all right. I didn't even share my screen yet, so I've got
No, but for those watching, we'll be back in 2 weeks, and I think we're gonna do a pre-KubeCon show. That's the plan, right?
Pre and post.
Pre and post. Yes, we'll do the post right after the event in Toronto. So looking forward to that.
Go to the screen
this one in here.
Yeah. I'm at the bottom. Yeah, because I was reading it.
Yeah, it's a very long article. I was trying to get through it before the show.
Look at 16-minute read. It's got detail. Mm-hmm. And this is from Cider Security, Omar Gill, and Azzy Greenholz. These guys are good. Like some of the I think definitely the thing in my my Git presentation where I mess with GitHub action things, they're the ones who found the self-approving PR thing.
Okay.
So it's like they just sit and mess with CI pipelines. And this one's like, there's no way we're going to go through this, but they're talking about, they go through Jenkins, GitHub, and GitLab, and talking about creating SCM webhooks and different ways and what they can and can't do, like what they tried and what failed, like no GET requests, can't control the body of a post. We don't have Caesar tokens. So how do we get around abusing the Jenkins login? Oh, okay, this starts pretty saucy. Anything that abuses Jenkins, I'm a fan.
Nice.
But it's good, and we can't go through it because they're only talking about it because they succeeded, obviously cleaning it all up, and then they move on. Okay, you can't do it with GitLab, but that's great. And then, like any good, incredibly long article, you get to the bottom, and the hardening instructions are actually pretty straightforward. So, if you want to skip to the end, make sure you're doing that. Back up to the top, find out what could go wrong.
Yeah, it's very well done. Good diagrams that they've set up as well. Huge fan.
Yeah, and there's a video, by the way. If you're like us, if you're watching this show and you like video instead of just reading stuff, just go to the article. The links are once again down below on YouTube, and click it and watch it. And that's way easier.
Yeah, and since we are somewhat, let's say, irregular in our show time, if you hit the little bell button, it'll tell you when we're going live. Typically always 10 p.m. Eastern, though, either Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. We should just chuck that out there.
Yeah, the time of day is generally roughly consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We're going to say that, and next week we won't be.
Yeah,
getting close.
Exactly. Yeah, so the next two are, two recommendations, and there's a couple guides coming up too. But this one came across my desk, Constellation. It's an always encrypted Kubernetes version. And as if Kubernetes wasn't hard enough, I think you had some thoughts on this, Steve.
It wasn't hard enough. Why? That was my immediate answer. What problem is it solving? And does it break everything? I don't know. I want to try it. I guess
Mhm.
that's my question. What was your first impression?
First impression is that it's solving the security use case where security is blocking the use of containers, especially containers in the cloud, right? Because even though you are running Kubernetes and you have these virtual machines, you know, it's a tight environment. You're running next to other workloads. If it's always encrypted at runtime, maybe you can smooth some fears in security teams and say, okay, like, you know, we can use some cloud resources to do this. That's my guess.
I should have read this white paper. That might have cleared me up.
Yeah, so confidential computing is coming up. Look for it at KubeCon. I know Red Hat is also one of the big pushes of this. I actually think they created it. I don't want to speak for them, but people at Red Hat are part of the confidential computing for the or confidential containers, I think is the term that's being used now. But yeah, maybe we should talk about it next show. I'll find more information and I'll bring it up.
Okay. Use cases of increasing overall security, obviously. Trustworthiness of SaaS, sensitive workloads from on-prem to the cloud. Okay. I mean, I get it.
Which would make sense why Red Hat is probably doing some work in the background if it's on-prem and hybrid environments, right?
Yep. What's the performance like constantly?
That's a great question. No comment. I don't know.
No comment. All right.
We'll get to that. But that's, I mean, it's a good point. Everything's encrypted, which that's an extra workload.
Gonna take some extra oomph to make that happen. But okay.
Yeah, no kidding. And then the next thing I have, there's two guides. So I wanted to put both these in there. One of them was really well done. The other one's paid for. So CISA creates a list of free cybersecurity tools. You click the tools and services link, it will bring you to the actual list. Probably should have put that in instead of the small blog that was written about it. But, yeah, if you scroll down, it was funny. I was telling Steve earlier that Chekhov made it. So
so I gotta
hit the little expand all sections. Yeah, there you go.
I'm curious to go through it. This is a lot of tools, though, isn't it?
Yep, 100 tools. I don't know why they kept it at 100, but they like round numbers. So
yeah, that's so like 2005, isn't it? It's got to be like 13 or something.
It is interesting when they talk about Google versus open source, because I think it's free cybersecurity tools, and I'm not sure if they're truly free, but it's a great question.
Oh, some of them might have upgrades.
Yeah, or like, you know, maybe it's free, but it's free as long as like you're in Microsoft. Like Microsoft Cloud Suite is not going to do things outside of Microsoft's cloud, right? So it's one of those.
Yeah.
Like, see, I'm kind of shocked because Chekhov, it's listed as Palo Alto Networks, but technically it's open source.
It is open source.
So it should be listed as open source, right?
Well, we're the curators of it, I guess.
I mean, yeah. Anyways, it's just kind of weird how they.
Is there an open source section or something?
Yeah, I see there's like some open source tools.
When they say open source, does that mean it's like totally open source? There's no one company that most open source. Is that a fair statement? Most open source are connected to some, like Kubernetes is Google.
Yeah.
But not really.
Well, technically Kubernetes could also be kind of like CoreOS / Google, but I don't know, maybe it's whoever's on the GitHub repositories. If they're from multiple different companies, they consider it truly open source. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely sway from paid companies upstream, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, nice to see we made it, and I'm going to take a pretty deep look at this.
Like Carbon Black's in there, which I thought was kind of interesting because
really,
like, is Carbon Black has a free tier on Tanzu, right? So it's
community Carbon Black.
Yeah. Yeah, they have Tanzu has a community edition, right? Kind of like OpenShift had its OpenShift community platform or OpenShift Kubernetes engine.
Yeah, makes sense.
So,
oh well, a long list.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what problem having a list of 100 things is going to do for me.
Yeah, no kidding. And we're going from this list to the next biggest list. This one, it's literally the biggest list, pardon me, that I've seen in a while. It's really well done. Here it is. It's Kubernetes. And I love this MK docs template. It's so easy to
Yeah.
just chuck things into it and just build a site on GitHub. Literally everything: motivation, introduction, DevOps, Docker, Kubernetes, Red Hat, OpenShift. If you click in to the various things, it will just bring you down the page. So it's just one huge page of resources.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a lot. The rise of modern day Kubernetes. Now I'm going to feel bad if we haven't got something in here that we wrote. The rise of the automation. So if you, I just clicked it. Oh, there you go. See, I got a Red Hat article. Touche.
Oh, nice.
So it just fired it up. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a curated list. I think it's pretty. There's a lot of fluff in here, I'll say that, but it is pretty good if you wanted to get started and, like, so let's say learn about Kubernetes. There's all the tutorial links. If you want to go to OpenShift, there's specific OpenShift links. Kind of gives you the whole ecosystem in one go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Service mesh, our favorite. Yeah. Nice one.
Yeah.
Lists are good. If
All right,
that
what
is
do
a
we
little
got?
small for the screen, sorry, but if you want to get a closer look, go down into the links and you can play with this list all day.
And it's Kubernetes.com, which is kind of funny. I don't know how they got that instead of Kubernetes. Anyways, I think this is the last one in the general news, right?
It is.
This one came up, a different kind of scam. And it has to do with an application that you can install on your local host. And if you take screenshots, it automatically uploads it and gives you a URL. So it's really good for sharing. And I think, I'm trying to think what the use case for something like this is. Maybe content creators, or, like, let's say you're working on an edit and you're making quick changes and you're not online with somebody, you can just upload a bunch and say, here, pick like the favorite one that you want, instead of like uploading them to Google Drive and all that stuff. Right. Yeah. But I'm trying to, like, why would you want to screenshot and make it publicly available?
I don't know. I mean, I can see doing, when we do blogs here, sometimes they're like we have a spec for how we have to do screenshots if they're going into a blog, and we have certain tools that we have to use. So you could see a marketing team going, just do this tool and we'll go get it and we'll make it look cool in the blog for you. So maybe. So what was the hack?
From what I understand, because it's kind of muddled, is they are using this ability to automatically set up URLs to set up fake websites.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're going and finding these URLs and being like, oh, like, look at this picture, and you click on it and then it just redirects you. And so they're kind of like they're using that functionality to get sort of these default back websites, and then redirecting to them that when you click it. I'm not completely sure exactly what's going on, but also my kind of WTF as we go into that section is, why are people clicking on these random domains anyways? Like, to me, once I get off that top 90% of the internet, my flags immediately go up.
Yeah.
If I'm getting redirected to Google page 2, I'm like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah, really. You think, look at this. Wow. Okay, cool. All right. That is weird.
Right? It's a new type of hack. It's so new that I can barely understand what the heck's going on.
Well, that leads us nicely into next section. WTF time?
Yes, sir. And you put this first one in here. Let me bring it into the stream here. Oh my gosh. 900,000 Kubernetes clusters are misconfigured.
So my whole point of this one was this clickbaited me, because it came in probably on I don't know, one of those gazillion alerts and newsletters that we have that prepares us for this wonderful show. And I thought, didn't we see something like this recently? Like, I was looking back, I thought, I wonder if it's like a development, like we know a DDoS. We always see another DDoS every week. It's bigger and bigger, and there's even more clusters misconfigured. And then I rolled down. The first thing was, many thanks to Teleport, who sponsored my writing, from Graham Cluley. And I went through, and it's just a flipping like advert almost for Teleport. And it's like, oh, come on, really? So I didn't, you know what?
Pay. Download teleport OSS.
It made me go, ready? Boom. Bye. Next. Because it's like, this is just me. This is a little bit of where this is the pain that Michael and I go through when we're trying to assess these things. Is you get these people who come in and sponsor an actual writer. Like you can see him he's doing a talk like very soon somewhere. He's like, he knows what he's doing. And then the sponsors come along and go, all right, write this SEO article with this inflammatory title and then say teleport 25 times. It's annoying. It's annoying. Mm-hmm. I know you don't like it either, because sometimes we have to do articles like that. And it's a pain in the backside.
Yeah, it's I try to make it as information heavy as possible, but always tough. And speaking of which, you hit X because we're moving the heck on. What's this next one? Fake sites fool Zoom users into downloading deadly code.
Deadly code.
Deadly
code that can murder you.
Mm-hmm.
Put this in.
Deadly for your career, maybe.
I missed even reading this one, so there's no way that I put this one in here. It sounds awesome though. Is this yours?
Yeah, basically, whenever you're going to download Zoom, you get redirects and things like that. Like you go to web pages and they recommend, hey, download Zoom for video and FaceTime, blah blah blah, all that stuff. And basically, they've embedded these URLs in the back end that download a fake Zoom, and that Zoom installs onto your system and locks your system, and it's basically malware. It's just
ransomware?
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, and that's all it is. It's just through bad URLs and clicking through websites thinking you're actually going to download Zoom when you download fake Zooms.
Why aren't people just going to like the actual Zoom site to download Zoom?
So yes, but you think about during the last 2 years in COVID, how many families have tried to get together to be like, oh, we want to do this. And then so-and-so messages their grandma, like, grandma, download Zoom so we can all talk. Like, here's what's going on. Here's how you set it up. And then grandma goes on, doesn't know how to use Google, clicks like maybe you'd think it'd be the first thing on Google, maybe just clicks the wrong thing. And
then boom.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Scammer websites are always very good at SEO.
Surprisingly. Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense. I shouldn't say surprisingly. But yeah. And yeah, anyway, so they call it out specifically the 6 URLs that are doing it. And I'm sure that those will be taken down probably pretty soon.
So off the back of this, I have another breaking news we can do later during breaking news.
We have breaking news for the breaking news.
I have another one. And it happened while we're talking just now.
Awesome. All right.
I got a text message and it's a total scam. And so I'll just show I'll breaking news and show the screen and I'll explain it.
All right. We got breaking news coming up right after this next article.
Let's go shift gears.
Yeah. This one came across my desk and I did not like it. So you can't have both high utilization and high reliability. It's so they outline this example where they say, what if you have an application that needs CPU, that regularly uses CPU, but needs 3? And you run into this issue where you don't want to set limits and maybe other workloads might take that 3rd CPU when you really need it. What are your first thoughts on this?
I right now, I don't know.
Because I have 2. I was just kind of curious to see if you were on the same thought process that I had. 2 is, 1, the use cases, it kind of works only at a smaller scale, because let's say you only have 3 nodes and you want to scale up, it's not really useful. If you have 10 or 20 nodes, then you should be able to find the resources available, right? But then that speaks to utilization and how you get. The other thing too is we do have pod priority and preemption. So this is a function in Kubernetes where you can set a pod to have the top priority and you can set other pods to have low priorities. And then you can scale accordingly, right? Like, if I'm installing StackRox and my environment is pretty hardened, right? Do I give the collector and sensor priority in the cluster? No, I'll probably shrink them because, we don't need to be doing scanning all the time, right? I'd rather have my applications run and then do the scans when I need to do the scans, right? So there's this weird you do have that. You do have auto scaling if it's set up properly. There are a ton of different options. I think realistically, when they say you can't have both, it's because it takes a little bit of knowledge to have both. And typically developers just say, I want 2 or I want 3. And they don't set it up properly. But I'm not really sure what Robusta is trying to recommend. I didn't read the bottom.
Oh,
What does
yeah.
it say?
That's like, what's the, what are they saying is the solution?
Yeah. Oh,
And,
that's right. Because Kubernetes is going to have an alpha feature coming up.
right. Is this being really picky on a very specific use case where you've only got 3 CPUs and you've got a really greedy potential scenario?
Yeah, like my thought was, let's say you have 12 CPUs in total and you have, 4 applications running at 2 CPUs each. Well, then you're at 60% utilization. Well, what happens if 2 applications at the same time, both need the last 2 or 4 CPUs, right? And need it quickly. Well, then realistically, I think everybody kind of aims for 50% utilization with spikes up to 70 or 80. You never really want to get past 80 from my understanding from SREs. Like, I guess one of my issues with this is, what is the utilization you're aiming for? Like, it says normal utilization, 100%, 100%, 66 within the amount for the application itself. But for the node, I think you should probably outline what we're aiming for. 50% is really good for your average workloads. And then you should be getting up to 70 or 80% spikes, right? But realistically, when it's spiking to 70 or 80%, you should be auto scaling to get the amounts down to 50 or 60 again.
So you don't run into this problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think they talk about utilization at the container level when really we care about the container level, but it's more about the node. And then it's about picking the priorities of the workloads we care about. And like, for example, if you have a web server, your front end, and specifically that first web page, that first thing that people are hitting should have top priority. Right. Like, if you wanted the best user experience, right? Anyways, I had a slight issue with that article. So
this is the guy we talked about this, Natan Yellen, I think he's the founder, co-founder of Robusta. I can never remember what Robusta do, but he's the one we had his article on the show just around last Kubernetes EU, where he was slamming CPU and memory. No, it said there should be no CPU limits. I think that was his. And we kind of roughly agreed with it, but it was like, I only heard about him because he gave me a t-shirt at KubeCon, nice. And then got up my grill about Chekhov having a rule that said, hey, you have no CPU limits, and he demanded we remove the rule.
Which is kind of weird. Like, I think the rule should still be there. Yeah. You should be making a conscious choice. Right?
Yeah, I mean, just suppress it if you don't want it. We're not going to take it out. But, he was waving a flag for, well, he's doing it again. I mean, he's obviously I would imagine Robusta has something to do with CPU utilization and costs and things like that as their specialization. So, he's banging that drum. That's okay.
All right. I think we have some breaking news.
I made the noise quieter. I don't know if we've used it since then. To make me deaf.
Yeah, it's not as loud in my ears for sure. We have 2 things. You want to just do the Oracle one first?
Yeah, do that one first. Yeah, sure.
All right. I mean, this one's pretty quick. It actually came out like 5 or 6 days ago, but I just found out about it yesterday. It was so quiet. And I think they actually, oh wow, it's been 9 days. That Wiz security researcher found the flaw, publicly disclosed it, dubbed it the attach me, a major bug center is one problem. The attack path uses their cloud ID, OCID, which could be found via publicly available or a low privilege account. So basically, Oracle had a cloud ID that a low privilege account had access to. They managed to gain access to the low privilege account, and they showed that you could see it. I think this is a GDPR thing, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Could lead to sensitive data leakage for all customers.
Yeah. So I think they kind of had to come out with this one, but it kind of flew under the radar.
Flew under our radar.
For sure.
Darn.
All right.
That's cool.
Yeah, breaking news is, and I slotted this in like 2 minutes before the show. So
That's cool. That's why I hadn't read it. All right,
Yeah.
I'll slot this. I'll slot this scam message that just showed up on my phone
all right.
as a. Let me know if it refocuses or not.
There you go. You're eligible. Oh, the energy bills. Nice.
So that
Yes.
was just announced. The energy bill support scheme came out. Some entrepreneur has got energyschemeapplication.com. By the way, don't go there because you don't have to sign up for it. It just happens. It's obviously my grandparents all over the world are clicking that link now because it just showed up.
Energy bills that high in the UK, eh?
Oh, they're horrible right now. It's yeah, I would imagine your we get our oil from Russia. Woo! So yeah, everything's really expensive here at the moment. Like 10% inflation. It's crazy, and our pound is worthless. So there we go. We're almost using might as well use Canadian dollars.
I was gonna say I'm gonna come over and start spending money in the UK.
You'll be a rich man.
All right, let's spend some money. Speaking of which. Yes. Spending, well, a little bit of money.
Boom.
Oh,
advert.
Gotcha. Cyberwire, gotcha.
Oh, it was just there. Now they want me to pay. Quickly. There. Malwarebytes receives 100 million in funding. I don't want to scroll anywhere else. A giant advert might come up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to say Swedish cybersecurity provider Alurti has acquired Spanish. Oh, that's a different one, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a stack of them here.
Okay.
I thought that's why it was there. There's two acquisitions here.
Yeah, there's two things. But Malwarebytes getting $100 million in funding, that is pretty significant.
That's pretty cool, actually.
They're still private, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Vector
obviously.
Capital, sure. Despite a recent layoff of 125 employees. Oops. There's a lot. That's a lot of that happening. Yeah, very cool. I might actually subscribe to this because this is this newsletter, the business briefing, has a lot of the things we talk about on it in terms of acquisitions and big moves. So I wasn't even aware of it. I like Cyberwire. I listened to it, but I don't subscribe. So there we go. Nice one.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of funding, and then the next one is an acquisition. CrowdStrike acquires Reposify.
I never heard of them. Attack surface management or external attack surface management. Obviously, EASM.
Yeah. Obviously, another acronym that we didn't need.
Yeah, that we never heard of.
Yeah, fortifying the security posture and reducing enterprise risk are top priorities for organizations. Who wrote that?
Yeah, they did.
Marketing
team wrote that.
Yeah, it named to its 2021 emerging vendors list in the external attack surface management security category. Wow, it's a mouthful.
So Reposify, how much did they pay? Did it say?
I'm not seeing it here. I'm not shocked because they probably just acquired them, and so the actual number hasn't come out yet. That being said, it kind of makes sense if, as people move to the cloud, you're going to want to do some sort of pen testing and check, right? So you can say, hey, here's my organization. CrowdStrike is able to take an inventory of all of those, let's say, resources, and then use something like Reposify to check all the endpoints, right? And say, okay, here's like all of your attack surface in your in the cloud, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a pretty cool use case.
It's also interesting that CrowdStrike, because CrowdStrike, when we were in Boston in July, there was a rumor going out that CrowdStrike was going to acquire something in Israel for, I think it was 2 billion or something. And so all these rumors were flying around about whether it was Orca or Aqua or something that was in the 2 billion block. And then nothing happened.
Interesting.
And then they came out with this one, and I'm like, I think Reposify are also Israeli. So I don't think that's it. That's why I was asking about, did we get it all wrong? It was actually these guys? Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe they just have a ton of money.
Yeah, well, there is that. Yeah, they do actually. So
All right,
cool.
into some vulnerabilities.
Now, what starts with the letter C?
All right, crack it in there. Straight from the desk of K8s security research team, Kubernetes SOC. K8s a brand new company. I did not know they had a security research team. That's pretty new. A server-side request forgery vulnerability when uses aggregated API service servers. I can't even say it right. It's only a medium, I believe. There it is, medium 5.1 on the CVSS scale, affecting Kubernetes API server that will allow to redirect client traffic to any URL, which is kind of cool. But unlikely, I guess, is the likelihood of you having this arrangement is, I guess,
Yeah.
minimal. Is the way
Was it
putting
fixed in some of the newer versions too?
Initial fix was developed and released with blocks the 3 blah 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 requests. September 9th it was fixed, and the secondary fix is just released like recently.
Yeah, so that'll be downstream pretty soon as a security fix.
Yeah, 125.1. So it's probably I would say it's pretty much nothing to worry about. And they've even back fixed it looks like a little bit as well. So worth knowing about though. If you're reading this and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I have aggregated API servers, or this fits something that you're looking at, go check it out.
Yeah, and this is something that your cloud vendor would have to to patch, right? So this is part of their responsibility if you're using a GKE or an AKS.
There you go. Shared responsibility.
But just know that if you're getting security patches in the background, there should be some sort of notification service, right? So that you can talk to a cloud vendor and say, hey, have you fixed this, by the way? I'm assuming.
Good point.
I've never paid for a service to the point where they're messaging me. So
yeah, I just I get them for free because our employers give them to us for free. So there we go.
Nice.
Yeah, very cool. Come to KubeCon. KSOC will be there. They have a talk. Jimmy Mesta, he's the guy. He's doing. I think he might be the research team, like his company. I don't know.
It's the first Kubernetes vulnerability in a while, though. I think there really hasn't been that many this year.
No, it's been really quiet, unfortunately. But I guess that's a good thing.
I was going to say, unfortunately.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
Bugs are fun, but not when they affect us. Hey, here's the next one. This affects all of us.
Yes, an integer overflow in WhatsApp could result in remote code execution in an established video call. And I sent this to Steve over WhatsApp, which he commented, that's very meta of you.
Yes. And I was making another joke because Meta is who owns WhatsApp. See what I did there?
Oh, that's
clever, right?
Meta
Even the joke was meta. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you heard about this? Anybody like this actually being used? It's a 9.8, so it's obviously you can do it.
From what I'm looking at right now is the number of digits in an established video call could be increased by an integer overflow that can result in an RCE. It can be higher or lower than the minimum representable value depending on the number of digits. So the attacker could overwrite other parts of memory in the system by writing a larger value into it and misuse this feature. It's not something you can do on your phone. You'd probably have to do some sort of hack and then call somebody, right?
Yeah, I would think you'd have to have be pretty intentional in your
heap-based buffer overflow that can be triggered, and WhatsApp Messenger can be taken over.
I mean, I'm sure you can, because we talked about a bug a while back, which was in the iPhone, where you could send take a PDF and you changed it to GIF, and then you sent it to somebody over iMessage. And so because it was a GIF, it bypassed the sandbox, but because it was a PDF and the phone would figure it out, it would execute remote code via the PDF, and it was doing all this stuff. Like, it was a really quite cool way of doing things. And yet it was one of those, like, who on earth figures this stuff out?
Yeah, pretty crazy.
But yeah, that's upgrade your WhatsApp. I'm sure it's already fixed.
For sure. All right, we're talking S-bombs and Bomber. You ready for tool time?
Ready.
Does everybody know what time it is?
S-bombs are hot.
Yes, hot off the press.
Everybody wants an S-bomb. The United States government, the president wants you to have an S-bomb. So
We need you.
They need me. They don't really need me. So this guy, DJ Sheen, he has got a badass avatar for sure. He's in flames. He looks cool. He's got a mustache. DevOps pioneer, and what did I say? Security sommelier. It's pretty good actually. He seems so cool. I almost don't like him, but I bet you he's awesome. So Bomber, he did this thing called Bomber that scans existing S-bombs for security vulnerabilities, because I think there is a mandate to have an S-bomb to say these are the software components in my application. But S-bombs don't by default have vulnerabilities as part of the S-bomb. So they can, but they don't always. So if you're trading software, you're importing or taking third-party dependencies or software, and they come with an S-bomb and not the vulnerabilities. This is a nice little utility you can do.
So it scans S-bombs. Oh, interesting.
Right.
Very
So
cool.
Bomber supports the following. SPDX, I can't remember what it stands for.
SPDX,
It's like,
I don't know.
SPDX stands for, it's like software, the data exchange, but that's the DX. And SIFT is actually an S-bomb generation tool. You can specify what format you want it in. I guess SIFT has its own format. I didn't actually know that. It's made by Anchor. So I was using SIFT. I would use SIFT to generate an S-bomb. And in fact, if you look at a lot of the examples like SigStore that we did a little bit of earlier this season, let's say, they almost always use SIFT because it's just the easiest free tool that creates S-bombs out of packages and applications. So this is what, and they're also worth knowing. The Bomber uses OSV. Actually, I'll even do this. So Sonatype, the distributed vulnerability database for open source. It's very nice, right? A little gift to us from Sonatype. There's an API. There's a vulnerability database. Not too bad. So it's only got a single source. This is what happens when you use open source tools, right? If you go commercial tools, they've got that, probably got like the Red Hat database, and they've got the NVD, and they've got that one. They aggregate every possible source, so you get a lot more detail.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's open source using open source using open source, and it's as simple as Bomber scan, a JSON formatted Cyclone DX. All right, cool. Don't need any register for any service. I like this.
That's great.
It just flipping works, right?
So interesting. Continue. I have a couple questions about this after.
Well, I'm almost done. I mean, I guess OSV just has an open API of some sort that you don't have to do anything to do it. So I did this just recently, and it was fine. Tap, install, pow, you've got Bomber. And they provide, you can do providers. I didn't do this bit. I didn't want to do anything that required scanning remote objects. If I wanted to scan something, I just grabbed it locally and did it rather than complicate things, right? So what was your question?
Yeah. I mean, it was the remote API, right? Because typically any sort of scanner has to ping an external database. Like even if you're using Trivy or a Twistlock or anything like that, right? You need some sort of database that you're messaging. So just kind of curious how that was working. It's like, oh, you can run it anywhere. Like, well, it's querying something, right? So
right. Is there something leaving my premises to get vulnerabilities? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
So if I am off the internet, it doesn't work. Which is a good point, because I probably got to make sure my global protect is off, because it'll blow it up for sure. So if I glitch right now, you know why.
Yeah, it came up in our StackRox chat yesterday because someone's like, oh, we want to replace this scanner with the StackRox scanner. It's like, okay, well, you need Central installed, or you need some sort of ability to query a Central. And they're like, why is that? I'm like, what do you think Twistlock's doing? What do you think Aqua's doing? Right? Like,
everybody.
Yeah.
I think the only one that doesn't reach out is Trivy.
Yeah.
And when you run Trivy, you see it download the Delta for the database. So the first time you run Trivy, it downloads this beast and stashes it away. It's actually a very well compressed database, so it doesn't really take that long. That's one of the really cool things about Trivy. But yeah,
that is smart. And I'm assuming after a while it updates. Like every time you use Trivia,
Every time you run, it only downloads the delta.
Gotcha.
So you see a little whoop, and then that's it. You can. There is like a Trivia command like called either delete or like reboot, and it wipes the database out.
But yeah, being able to use that offline is great.
Yeah, it is cool that you can use offline. Okay, so Bomber is here, and it doesn't have a lot. It's not exactly complicated, right? I'm not going to do auto-completion. I don't really care about that. You just type scan. But what's funny is the example is wrong because that doesn't work. So I guess the help was created before he decided to go, oh, actually, I should make it a command, not just Bomber test. I should make it Bomber scan test. So if you do use Bomber and you just type it like this, it just throws a wobbly at you and it says, nope, you're doing it wrong. So what also is cool about it is that it actually comes with, I'm in the directory.
Okay.
Because I cloned it as well. I cloned it for a reason, because I can't type. That's why. Because in the instructions it said, "Hey, I've got some SBOMs. If you want to show, how it works." So I thought, oh, all right, let's. Yeah, okay. SpeedX ID. I mean, it's formatted with no spaces, but fairly ugly to look at. I probably should have just done a cat. Went to SpeedX and pipe that to JQ. If I can type JQ.
Oh,
there it goes. It's pretty big, but it's a SpeedX JSON file, right? And it doesn't have any vulnerabilities in it. It's just giving me some contents of Ubuntu, so it's pretty long.
Yeah,
it's
got all its packages and dependencies.
Yeah, exactly. So you all right, Bomber scan, and that was that one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is not a SBOM recognized by Bomber?
Yeah, it's like a provided example.
Yeah. Okay. Did you try it against some of the other ones?
So so then I'm going to go Cyclone DX and think maybe it just likes Cyclone DX. Scanning 102 packages for vulnerabilities. Sweet.
Yeah, I mean, now you know one of the issues with SBOMs right now is all the different formats and getting some consolidation, right?
Yeah, and even the formats themselves, although different, they're not so hard and fast that you can't. Like if you've designed essentially as a compiler something that's ingesting what is expecting a declarative format, and it's not always the same, you can break a tool. A guy who wrote the tool, and it's his own example.
Oh my gosh, scheme is missing? What?
I don't know what that means. So I ran into a few problems with it. That's
no kidding.
That's what I'm trying to allude to. Just so this isn't like, and so you can see the ones here.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably recognize the name of this show. I used Sift to generate the SBOM for us. Actually, let's do that. Because our website's not particularly complicated. In fact, it's not complicated for a very specific reason. There you go, Alpine.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're good security people, and the container that runs our website's like crazy small. So there's not much in it. I thought, all right, I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna do 2 different C9Ks. Output by Sift in Cyclone DX with only 43 packages, that's super small. I did a Java hello world, and it had like 500 packages in it. It was like ridiculous.
Scheme is missing. What is going on? Oh, okay. Are you banging your head against the wall?
I'm totally banging my head against the wall. I don't know, is that obvious?
Did you get any of them to?
What am I doing? This is it. This is kind of where I was like, for some reason I thought I got one to work. I think it might have been that one, or one of them gave me vulnerabilities. I was like, yes, I did it. And I don't want to end here without with no vulnerabilities. I don't really want to do a demo of Sift because Sift works. I know Sift works. I generated in advance the SpeedX and the Cyclone DX, and they're valid and they're correct, and they are. I visually verified the fact that yes, these are definitely the packages that are in these containers. I started to wonder if maybe there was a timeout on OSV, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes sort of tries to work and then it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And you saw, and that's why I thought maybe these is too many packages. I'll do ours, which has hardly any, and see if it gives me some vulnerabilities. So I don't know. At the moment, I feel like I should have done what I did last time with Lazy Trivy, and I should ping DJ Sheen after and go, I don't get it. Like, what did I do wrong?
If your examples aren't working, I don't think that's a me problem.
Yeah, because I kind of want it to work, but because I like the idea of it, but I don't understand what that means. What is?
Yeah, and that's I think we need some better help errors, right? Like, what is its scheme is missing? What is wrong about it?
What does that mean? Yeah, what didn't you like? It's kind of funny, right? I mean, I could go, hey, you should give me clearer messages. Checkout's kind of bad for that too, though. Sometimes if you've got an invalid YAML, it sometimes gives you mysterious results.
Yeah, and sometimes what was the other issue that I had? So I was building an mkdoc site, and one of the errors that popped up was you're using a YAML, like there's a couple of YAML files and JSON files and CSS files for style sheets and things like that, and it actually pointed towards downloading Visual Studio Code and using editors. It's like, use this editor if you want proper formatting. I was like, that's actually weirdly useful, right? And it really brought me to the style sheet format that I needed, and it was like, oh, the tabs are broken. Like, all right, fine, fixed it, worked.
Oh,
right,
that's cool.
So I'm like, it's kind of a simple recommendation that at least you can say, here, if you've tried this, if you've gone and like done it and it's properly formatted and it's still broken, okay, message us.
Oh, wow. You know what I'm thinking? That's really cool. And it got me thinking about this. I wonder if OSV changed the return schema of the results. You know what I mean? They APIs are always versioned and never cheat, never wrong. Yes, we got one.
Hey, there we go.
The Rails one worked. There we go.
44
Critical.
vulnerabilities.
3 right there, and they can check the format. Nice little list. Cool. We saw it work using the Rails example that was provided, which is good. And you can okay, now we can do the next bit now that I found one that actually works, because you can actually put it into a machine consumable format with a abomination output. So if you want to put it into JSON, like that just spat it out, you can do the dash output JSON, which is probably what you would do, because that in a way feels like you've got another machine consumable format. So you're consuming something JSON, you might as well spit it out as JSON. Interesting, it doesn't tell you anything, it doesn't give you any status if you decide to use the output JSON format, which is interesting, I guess, because that would corrupt the JSON if you piped it to a file. Fair enough. Yeah, anyway, I thought this would be the fastest ever Bomber. Here it goes. It works. We were wondering, actually, when we first looked at it, does it convert between formats? And it doesn't. Really? I think we misread that when we first looked at it. We were thinking, oh, it would be cool if it converted a Cyclone to a SpeedX. Just be like, because if somebody gives you a Cyclone and you're used to ingesting SPDX, it'd be good if there was a tool that flipped formats. That would be pretty. I don't know if that tool exists. So there we go. Open source enthusiasts, make it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's could be one of the biggest things, is watching the large providers pick the SBOMs that they want to use. And I mean, I know there's still fighting in the open source community about what's the best format. How do we verify that it's properly done? How do we verify the people who made the SBOMs actually know what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, Steve, thanks. That was pretty cool.
One little addition. I output a JSON, got a ton more data. Like all these descriptions, they weren't in the table. If you just look at it. So
Yeah, so it's almost like it cleans it up just for the sake of being pretty.
For the console output, it just
Yeah.
gives you tables, whereas JSON, you actually got the nitty gritty of the vulnerabilities, which is pretty sweet.
Very cool.
So there you go. When it works, it's pretty cool. Only problem is that I don't understand why sometimes it didn't work and what scheme doesn't make any sense. So what I'm probably going to do now, as I'm going to ping the DJ and over Twitter and just say, hey, go watch the end of this video and tell me what I did wrong so we can redo it next week or something.
Yeah, ping the security sommelier. I like that tagline.
Yeah,
kind of cool. Yeah. All right. Yeah, thanks. We'll be back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks on Friday. So have a nice, if you're in Canada, nice Thanksgiving next week.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks for the next craziness. I think we'll probably have a packed show. I'm Mike Foster.
I'm Steve Jagger.
And have a good rest of your week.